Thank you for joining us this afternoon at Oshkosh Media. I'm Karen Schneider, the publisher of the Oshkosh Herald, and I want to welcome candidate for the 54th Assembly, Donnie Herman, here with me this afternoon, and I want to thank you for taking time out to meet with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
So I'm glad you could join us. Donnie, do you want to take a few minutes and give our listeners and the voters a little bit of your background?
Well, my background is I was born and raised here. I actually grew right up in the middle city of Oshkosh on Cedar Street. And I went to all the schools here, Reed School, Merrill School, Oshkosh North when it first opened. I went through, that was actually the first class to go through it, the 4 years. So I've been here a long time, and I got involved in a lot of community service here, Otter Street Fishing Club. Been doing that for 48 years, volunteering for plowing on the lake and moving all the bridges and trying to keep everybody safe on the lake. And then I started a business. I started at Oshkosh Printers. I was a printer. I moved to Leach Company. I was in the union for about 12 years. And then I moved into management, and then I did that for 25 years. And then I actually bought a car repair business and a crane business and garbage truck business. And I had sunk dive and ice service. That's what most people know me by because I pull the vehicles out. I started that in 1980. So I've been just moving along with my life and trying different things, and I think that's why I would really be a good fit for Madison, because I've been a builder, electrician, a plumber. I used to build houses. I'm a tavern owner. I have a couple taverns and a scuba diver. I have a lot of life experience that will bring to Madison, or just your typical person that goes there is just, they don't have that experience. Like if they came up with a bill or something, the electrical code or something like something, you know, I lived it a lot. So I have a lot of things that I've done in my lifetime.
So why are you running as a candidate for the 54th district?
Well, when COVID hit, I got a little upset. I have two taverns. They shut both my taverns down, and my car repair business went down, and I don't think it's right for the government to shut down any business. I know we had a pandemic, but if you look back 2 years, 2 years ago, shutting down the churches, shutting down the bars, shutting down many things, and still kept some things open where you could still pass the disease, whatever, and you could still catch it. I think we look back, and I don't think it really made a difference. There's no proof that saying shutting down schools and everything, it didn't make a difference on how many people died or got sick. In fact, they told me that from this year in the summer, there's probably been more COVID cases than there was in the pandemic. So it's going to be around, and I think we have to learn to live with it. And that's kind of why I run it. I like to keep government out of businesses and residential, personal business, because this is America in Wisconsin, and we should be free. We should be less government, not more government. That's what I'm going for, to lessen restrictions and keep everybody safe. The water, and DNR does a great job keeping everybody in the water, and the well water is good, but there has to be limits. You can't, every time they do something, it takes a little touch of your freedom away. And I don't want that to happen.
Okay, thank you. So I have a series of questions. They've been submitted by members of the community as well as members of my Oshkosh Herald team. I'll be asking you the same questions that I asked candidate Lori Palmieri. So you're both being asked the exact same questions. Neither of you have received these questions, okay? So if elected, can you lay out what your priorities for the office will be?
Like I just said, my priorities are to get some bills to lessen government in the people's lives. I'd like to get less restrictions. My main thing is taxes. I've owned 6 or 7 businesses, and in the last 20 years, my taxes almost doubled. My services have gone down, but my taxes have doubled. And I wanna, we have to learn to control spending, not spend more. It's when you run a business, and people have told me that, you run a business because your government doesn't run like a business. Maybe not 100% like a business, but it should run 80% like a business. If you take in $1 million, you can't spend $2 million. You'd be you wouldn't be in business, and I think we're out of control.
Okay. What qualifications do you bring to state issues that impact Oshkosh?
The business, what I bring is the business sense and the common sense. It's all about spending and controlling your expenses. And I know there's social programs in government, and you have to have them. There's a lot of people that are hurting, and we have to do that. But there has to be a limit to where you have to watch the limit on those social programs. I think sometimes you hear, and well, I know some people take advantage of those social programs, and we have to make sure that doesn't happen.
So, excuse me, the next couple of questions are focusing on the Department of Human Services, which ironically you just kind of touched on. And what opportunities do you see for improvements in our healthcare system?
Well, with being a business owner, I've had to deal with healthcare all the time for my employees and for myself. It is amazing. People don't realize when you're a business owner, we have actually pretty good healthcare system in Wisconsin. It's called Badger Care. But it does hinder the employee, because when I have employees, and they can only make so much money, and then they get kicked off from Badger Care. So they can only work like 20 or maybe 25 or 30 hours. That needs to be changed. I don't know how it can be changed. We got to work at that. But I have an employee that works 25 hours, and then he doesn't work because he gets kicked off from Badger Care, and he loses Badger Care. If he works another 20 hours, it's not worth it for him to do that, because then he's got to pay for the health insurance. There has to be a system to where affordable health care. And it's a big issue, because the federal government, nobody can actually solve it. It's going to take a team effort to solve that. And that's what we need to do is solve that issue.
How do you see the state addressing the increase in mental health issues and need for services and providers?
I think that's a big thing, and I think the reason why we have more mental health issues, I think your interact with people is lessened because of social media, cell phones. It's changed. Society has changed. I'm knocking on doors. I go around on the old section of Oshkosh, and you knock on doors. There's porches. When people used to sit on their porches and mingle and back and forth, that's gone away. And I think people get isolated from their phone, and they don't socialize, and I think that comes. There needs to be spent a lot of money on that, because I think that's a lot of your gun violence because of that. I think it's more mental issues than it is gun violence.
Thank you. To learn from actions or inactions in policy over the last few years, in a pandemic review, what do you believe are takeaways or lessons that we can learn from going forward?
Well, I sure hope there's not another pandemic. I mean, that's for sure.
Me too.
I think if you look back in the whole United States since it's been around, there's been pandemics, there's been wars, there's been everything. America, and I think they really seem to get over them all. I mean, we conquer everything. What they did last time, they didn't know what was going on with COVID, but I think they went extreme overboard. They used it as a political ploy, and that should have never been a political ploy when you have a pandemic or some catastrophe. It should never come into political. It should be about the people.
So we're going to look at another issue that is not only facing Wisconsin, but is facing pretty much the entire world right now, and that is a skilled workforce. So we have a skilled workforce shortage. What are your priorities to prepare children in our educational system to gain the necessary skills needed to succeed in today's workforce and to fill the needs of our employers?
I know firsthand because of this, because of my businesses. I've been short employees for the last 5 years. And the same thing as what I brought up, Badger Healthcare. They only have to work, if they work too many hours, they can't work many hours, so they go home and they don't do anything because they lose their health care. So we have to do that example. And I have 4 employees like that right now. They can only work so many hours. Technical school is a big thing that people can go to. I think the mindset, a lot of people want to, they have to go to college, get a degree. And a lot of times they don't even work on their degree. Technical school, we have to push the technical school. We're missing a lot of technical staff. The kids have to get into technical school. I think, it's changed. Cell phones, Twitter and everything, it's changed the kids' outlook. I mean, you can make money and survive and live on a Twitter account if people follow you. That is amazing to me. I mean, we're old, we don't know that.
Right.
But I know a couple of people that actually live off Twitter and what's the other one? I don't remember what. Instagram. So they actually make money. I actually can do that with my business with Sunk. I go out and then they actually pay you. And, you know, you can make as an electrician or welder, you can make $40, $50 an hour. Mm-hmm. And to get that in, to get the kids interested in that, that's going to be a big difficult. And remember, the family, when we grew up, we had 2, 3, 4 kids. And, everybody had 3, 4 kids. Now there's 2, 1. And it's going to be a big issue coming up. I think what's going to happen is people are more going to work at home. I think you're going to get more people working at home, and that's which already has happened. And I don't know how to get the kids to get involved. It's going to take a lot of great teachers.
Which would bring up a different question. What type of programs could the state of Wisconsin create to help create filling all the vacancies we have in education right now with teachers?
Well, it's hard because teachers, they don't get paid as much. My last time when I talked about this, in Oshkosh, we're spending $60 million on a new school, which I don't have any problem with the new school. But I've built houses, reventilated bars and restaurants and everything, and you have the structure there. I think we could have rebuilt Merrill. The people voted for it. I'm for it. But I think we could have reinvented Merrill School with a lot less money, maybe $20 million. In my personal opinion, is to give that money to the teachers and for the education and the technology. You need the technology for the kids to learn. So I think we're focusing too much on, we're going to have a school with marble floors and everything. Really, kids don't really. When I went to school, I didn't care if the floor. Reed School was like this. So kids don't really care when they're growing up. Maybe when they get to high school, it might make a difference. And I think we're focusing too much on the school, on what it looks like and all the classrooms. I think you could put up a pole shed and have classrooms and have the security there and spend the extra money on the teachers. I really think we spend too much money on the school itself.
Thank you. So the next one I know is probably something that you're very familiar with your 48 years with the Otter Street Fishing Club. But what environmental issues in general need to be addressed to keep Wisconsin as a top recreational tourist destination?
Well, Wisconsin is one of the top recreational states, I think, in the country. There's a lot to see here. I mean, you can take vacation here for 5 years and 2 weeks, and you'll never find the waterfalls, everything. We have to protect that. I think sometimes it's overprotected. I have an instance just myself. I've had lake properties, and you can only stay 75. They have some very strict limitations on like what's a navigable waterway. It's you have to protect all the water and everything, but you have to be a fine line so it protects your freedom also. If someone buys a property and they want to do something with it, as long as it doesn't wreck the environment, they should be able to do something with it. We have to keep our freedom for that. It's going to be a tough, not much in Wisconsin, but around America, water is going to become a scarce thing. If you really think about it, we pay more for water a gallon than we do gas. You go buy a case of water. We actually, people don't realize that, but we do. And it's going to get more scarce. Maybe not in this area, but a lot of areas it's going to be.
So along the environmental issue line, obviously Wisconsin and Oshkosh itself has some issues with infrastructure. And as a member of the Assembly, how do you see yourself being able to help bridge that infrastructure gap and strengthen? I mean, our bridges, our roads, and so forth. where do you see the state coming in on that?
Well, we have a surplus in the state right now, over $5 billion. I don't know what they're using that money for right now, or if it's just sitting there for a rainy day, but there's plenty of tax. You got gas tax. I mean, people want wheel tax. There's all kinds of tax. Your registration. I mean, just 10 years ago, your registration was $35. It's $100 and some dollars now. I mean, it almost like tripled in the last. I'm not familiar with what's going on, but I can tell you right now, they're somewhere they're wasting the money for their infrastructure, because I know they pay all the construction companies very well with the Fair Pay Act, and maybe we have to look into it and do some different bidding on the construction cost. It always amazes me. We have the City of Oshkosh construction companies, and you look around, and the companies come from 2 states away. I don't get it on how they can be cheaper. I never realized that. But going into politics, you see, why is this company here when we have a company right here that can do the same job? But I guess it's on a bidding deal. But I think they're wasting their money on stuff that they really don't need. They took a lot of stuff away with building the roads. They actually made them cheaper. They use gravel. That's different now. A lot of people don't know that. They did that years ago. That's some of the roads go like this. I know because I lived across the street from a quarry that was closed and you open it back up. But there's a big thing there. I don't know the total answer to that because I'm not into Madison right now. But somewhere I don't know if it's going to administration costs, but the money that comes in from the gas tax and all the registrations and everything, I don't know what that number is, but somewhere along the line, it seems to me, from an outsider looking in, something's missing.
Okay. So my next question is, where do you stand on these bipartisan opportunities that are needed to move the state forward on issues that the majority of the public seem to support? So the first one is legalization of marijuana.
I'm not against the legalization of marijuana. And the reason why is because I know people, older people, that actually have it, and it makes them feel, it's better than what they're taking pills-wise. I'm all for that, marijuana. I just don't want it to lead to having marijuana lead to cocaine and heroin. That's what everybody says what happens. I know of a lot. I have a lot of friends that smoke marijuana, and I don't see any different. They're not any different than smoking marijuana than me drinking a beer. That's what I see, especially in the bar business. I know a lot of people in the bar. It's illegal. It's illegal right now, but I don't have any problem with legalizing it to a point. I mean, right now I think it's only a gram, but I don't have an issue with legalizing marijuana.
And the second one, of course, is women's reproductive rights.
That's a tough one to answer. To me, it's not a yes or no question. I am pro-life, but I'm not pro-life totally. I'm pro-life with exceptions. I think it's mostly with the women. If you have, she's got rights, and if someone like rape and incest, I would not want my daughter to be raped and have that baby. That's how I feel about that. So I think it should be up to the people anyways. It shouldn't be up to state assemblymen and women like us. We got the state assembly person, I should say. It shouldn't be up to us. It should be up to the people. There should be a referendum that comes up, and it goes to the voters. And you'd have to pick the one if it's 15 weeks or 16 weeks where you can have an abortion, whatever it is. But it needs to go to the voters, not to us. Why should we have to decide? We do it on everything else for schools and everything. It should be up to the voters, my opinion.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today. Those are the questions I have. I thought it would take much longer. But the last one is, the floor is yours. So for the next few minutes, share with us what you would like us to know, where you stand on different issues, and why people in the 54th district should vote for you.
Well, I can tell you, like I said, I was born and raised here. The city of Oshkosh and community of Oshkosh gave me a lot in my life. I mean, and I love it here. I wouldn't move here. I mean, I would never move. I've had some other places that in Wautoma and stuff, but Oshkosh is my town. I am a dedicated for Otter Street Fishing Club. Everybody knows that. I'm dedicated for Special Olympics. Some people don't know, I actually cut the polar plunge hole for when they jump in. I've been doing that since it started for volunteer.
Have you jumped in?
I have. But I tell everybody, I run a business that I pull vehicles out. I've been in the water by accident many times. And I know how cold it is. I'm pretty not going to jump in on purpose. Someone paid Special Olympics $1,500 for me to jump in, so I actually did jump in, and it's cold. And the other thing I bring to the table is I bring experience. And I'm not trying to be arrogant about it. I've done just about everything you can think of. I'm not good on computers. That I'll tell you. I'm not the best on computers, but for electrical, plumbing, furnaces, I've done just about everything. Right now I'm building. We're building some buildings, and I remodel a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to get it to where, there's builders that I know that don't want to come to the city of Oshkosh. There's too many restrictions. The inspectors are very rude. And they don't like building here, and we have to change it. We want builders that want to come to Oshkosh. I've done stuff with regulations. I'm moving my building right now. I had to, not now, but when I built the building, 12 feet for no reason at all. I got navigable water, and I had to move it 12 feet. That should not be acceptable. I'm 300 feet away from the navigable water, and that's their jurisdiction. I was 282 feet. I had to move the building sideways, and it cost me another $10,000. That's what we have to do. When you buy a piece of property, there should be some restrictions, but you should be able to do what you want with your property. My business that I have, my car repair business, I got over 3 acres. I can't use anything within 10 feet. And the property is yours. I know and I just have things that I just want to do the regulations. When I put a parking lot in my car repair business, I put a parking lot in. I had to plant 15 trees. To me, yeah, you want it to make it look pretty, but trees don't grow in a parking lot. This is what my experience is. I do a lot of snow plowing. When you put trees in a parking lot, it's hard to plow. These are just little things that, and there's all kinds of them. I'm just trying to get the regulations so someone's there can say, hey, we got to plant a tree in the parking lot. Nah, we probably shouldn't do that. Because the next guy, that affects the next guy. And that's what I'm going with. My life experience is what I bring to the table in an assembly. My most thing that I can do is for the state assembly. Just by life experience. Because I'm not 22 years old anymore, I'm 64.
I'm not 22 anymore either.
And I enjoy this. I campaigned 2 years ago. I lost. I wasn't going to run again. I seen the seat was going to be open, so I decided to run again. You have to have some thick skin, that I can tell you. It's enjoyable, though. The people, when I knock on doors and meet people, 98% of them are great. There's a couple 2% that like to slam the door on you and stuff like that, but that's the way it is. Everybody's personality is a little different. But it's been very enjoyable. If I win or lose, I always look back at the experience, and I had a lot of fun.
That's a great way of looking at it. So, well, thank you for joining me this afternoon, Donnie. I appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in to Oshkosh Media.